At 57 years old, after 2.5 seasons of carrying the weight of Ferrari on his shoulders, Fred Vasseur has finally said out loud what everyone in the paddock has been thinking for months. But why now? And what does it actually tell us about where Ferrari really stands heading into the second half of 2026? Stick with me, because this isn't just another quote from another press conference. This is a story about a team principal who has spent his entire tenure at Ferrari managing expectations and deflecting hype, and about the moment his carefully controlled messaging finally cracked open just enough to reveal what's really going on at Maranello. Let's start with who Vasseur actually is, because it explains why his words carry so much weight. He joined Ferrari ahead of the 2023 season, inheriting a team desperate to end a championship drought stretching back to 2008. Under his leadership, Ferrari came agonizingly close in 2024, fighting McLaren for the constructors' title all the way to the final race before falling short by just 14 points. Heartbreak, but proof they were building something real. Then came 2025, and 2025 was brutal. Ferrari made a decision early that year that would define everything after: sacrifice development on their 2025 car and pour nearly all their resources into the sweeping new regulations coming in 2026. A calculated gamble. The cost was steep. Ferrari finished the season without a single race win. Charles Leclerc salvaged 7 podiums through sheer skill, but Lewis Hamilton, in his debut season with the team, struggled to find any rhythm at all. Vasseur later admitted something few team principals would say publicly, that he'd underestimated the psychological toll of that decision on his staff and drivers. Watching a season slip away on purpose is a different kind of pressure than simply losing. He called it tough to manage psychologically, even while standing by it as the right call for the team's future. So when 2026 arrived, the question wasn't just, will the new car be fast? It was the sacrifice worth it? Here's where the story turns. Unlike 2025, the SF26 actually delivered. During preseason testing in Bahrain, Ferrari quietly became one of the most talked about stories in the paddock. Vasseur described the test as going pretty well, with the team hitting its mileage targets and showing exceptional reliability. In fact, no other engine manufacturer, including Mercedes, had fewer interruptions during testing than Ferrari's power unit. It was validation. Then the season started, and Ferrari didn't just look competitive, they looked like genuine race winners. By the midpoint of 2026, both Hamilton and Leclerc had claimed a win apiece, something almost unthinkable 12 months earlier. Hamilton's Barcelona win became a turning point, an aggressive 3-stop strategy beating Mercedes on pure racecraft and ending Mercedes's perfect start to the season. Naturally, the paddock reacted the way it always does. Ferrari is back. That phrase started following the team everywhere, and this is where Vasseur's real character showed. Instead of embracing the hype, he pushed back against it, hard. After Barcelona, when fans were ready to declare Ferrari a genuine title threat, his response was blunt. Nothing had actually changed compared to the week before in Monaco, only the result. He refused to draw conclusions from any single result, good or bad. His approach, in his own words, was to walk into the factory after every race with the same message regardless of outcome. Stay focused, stay level, improve step by step. That discipline is rare in a sport built on emotional extremes. It tells you Vasseur wasn't just managing the media, he was managing his own team's psychology, guarding against the kind of premature confidence that has derailed championship campaigns before. Then came Silverstone, where Ferrari brought a second major upgrade package in a matter of months. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff raised eyebrows publicly, suggesting he was surprised Ferrari could afford such frequent large upgrades under the cost cap. Vasseur didn't let it slide. He pushed back directly, calling it ironic coming from Wolff specifically. A rare crack in his composed exterior, and a sign he's paying close attention to every shot fired from a rival garage. But here's the part that brings us back to the title. What did Vasseur actually admit that the F1 world already suspected? It centers on the one weakness that's followed Ferrari all season, no matter how many upgrades they bring. The chassis has been genuinely excellent, among the best on the grid, but the power unit has consistently lagged Mercedes. This wasn't paddock speculation. Vasseur confirmed it himself, acknowledging the power unit remains Ferrari's main deficit, and that closing that gap will take time because, in his words, the inertia on engine development is much higher than on the chassis side. Aero parts can be redesigned in weeks. Power unit architecture takes an entire cycle to meaningfully evolve. That's the quiet admission that reframes Ferrari's whole campaign. It's not that Ferrari lacks a fast car. Barcelona and Silverstone proved otherwise. It's a car winning in spite of a known limitation, not because that limitation is solved. Vasseur confirmed what engineers and pundits had been speculating since testing. Ferrari built one of the best chassis of the new era, but they're still chasing Mercedes on raw power. That reality resurfaced again heading into the summer break. With Ferrari sitting second in the Constructors' Championship, needing to close a real points deficit, Vasseur was asked about a new FIA measure introduced mid-season. His response was telling. He doubted it would be enough on its own to close the gap. Another example of him refusing to oversell hope even when a rosier answer might have played better with fans. Then came Hungary, a weekend that captured the whole picture in one afternoon. Ferrari topped Friday practice and locked out the front two rows in qualifying, Hamilton missing pole by 12 thousandths of a second. Everything pointed to a big result. Sunday told a different story. Hamilton finished fifth after a penalty, a poor start, and mistakes compounding on mistakes. Vasseur called the execution very poor and admitted the team made too many mistakes, refusing to spin a bad Sunday into anything else. That honesty is exactly why his admissions carry weight. He doesn't inflate results or manufacture excuses. When Ferrari has a genuine weakness, he confirms it rather than deflects. And that consistency is what makes his rare moments of confidence, like reaffirming the plan to keep the pace with aggressive upgrades, feel credible rather than like empty motivational talk. Heading into the second half of 2026, sitting second but with real ground to make up, Vasseur's message stayed consistent. Recharge, refocus, treat every weekend as its own challenge rather than a step towards some predetermined destiny. So here's the real question this video was built around. Was Vasseur's admission about the power unit a rare crack in Ferrari's disciplined messaging, or a calculated way of setting expectations low enough that any success feels like overperformance? Is this measured leadership exactly what a team recovering from 2025 needed? Or does it risk holding a genuinely fast car back from believing in itself when it matters most? Nobody outside Maranello can answer that with certainty yet. What we do know is this. A team principal who has spent nearly 3 years controlling the narrative around one of the most emotionally charged organizations in world sport just confirmed, in his own words, the one limitation everyone suspected was real. Ferrari's 2026 story isn't finished being written. It's a team with a genuinely competitive chassis chasing the final piece of the puzzle against a Mercedes power unit that isn't standing still either. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think Ferrari can close that power unit gap before the championship is decided? Or is this exactly the kind of limitation that quietly costs a team a title? Drop your prediction in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this video gave you the real story behind what's actually happening at Ferrari right now, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next race weekend breakdown. Drop a like if you think Ferrari still has what it takes to fight for this title. Share this with another F1 fan who needs to see it, and I'll see you in the next one.